Amazon's new Lord of the Rings prequel isn't off to the best start, as this series has had to deal with a slew of controversies, and it's not getting great reviews either. Recently, Elon Musk shared his 2 cents on the series by tweeting the show would have Tolkien turning in his grave. In today's video, we'll discuss what made Musk give such a negative review of this prequel, so let's dive in. First off, the billionaire took issue with the portrayal of certain characters. Elon is known to drop a controversial opinion or two on Twitter, leaving many of his fans wondering how they'll defend him. This time, the billionaire has taken issue with Lord of the Rings, The Rings of Power. On his Twitter account, he left behind a rather short but harsh tweet stating the series is making Tolkien turn in his grave. Elon took issue with how some characters, most notably men, were portrayed in the series. Adding to his initial review, he stated only Galadriel is shown to be brave and smart, while most, if not all, the men in the show are either jerks or cowards. It seems he wants a far more diverse roster of characters, with the focus not solely being given to Galadriel. Fans might recall the version of the elven character we're seeing in this prequel is far from what we got in Peter Jackson's trilogy, and not everyone is a fan of this change apparently. Musk's comments definitely sparked an interesting debate online. His usual trope of fanboys was quick to defend him, but many others took issue with his reasoning. Next, among the people who didn't like Musk's comments was Neil Gaiman. You may have heard of Neil Gaiman. He's the creator of the acclaimed comic series The Sandman, which recently got a Netflix adaptation as well. When asked on Twitter what he thought about the billionaire's take on the series, the comic writer had an interesting comeback. Gaiman stated, Elon doesn't come to him to learn how to fail at buying Twitter, and Neil doesn't go to Musk to get criticism on film and literature. Ouch. That must have stung a bit, considering it Musk's recent failure at buying the social media giant. And it just goes to show not everyone agrees with what the billionaire has to say. It's possible Elon's arguments aren't as well thought out as he might think they are. The thing is that Galadriel is the main character of the series, so expecting her to be competent, brave, and smart isn't that crazy. Surely, no one would want to see a series where the main character is straight up unlikable. We don't think it has anything to do with the fact she's a woman, but rather she's just the protagonist we're supposed to like. Additionally, Elon's review, if we can even call it that, came after he'd just seen the first 2 episodes of the series. He really hasn't given the series a proper shot, and it's likely we'll continue to see more characters get introduced. Some of these may even be men who aren't jerks or cowards, as he puts it. This would certainly help to alleviate some of his frustrations with the series. Moving on, Elon Musk may not be entirely in the wrong. While it's clear Elon's judgment on the series might have come in a little too early, we still think he isn't entirely incorrect. There are some elements to his argument that do hold some weight, and these can be linked back to J.R.R. Tolkien. Tolkien was raised in Queen Victoria's England, where ironically the idea of powerful female leaders wasn't exactly the norm. Because of this, the Lord of the Rings books don't feature that many strong female characters, at least not on the same level as the male roster. So seeing the Rings of Power's lead as a powerful woman might make Tolkien roll in his grave, as Elon says. And having some of the characters being represented by actors of color might not have been his first choice either, especially when you consider he quite often used to describe characters as fair in his books. Despite this, we don't think these are factors we should be using to judge the Rings of Power. Ultimately, seeing a female lead or non-white character isn't what's going to decide one's enjoyment of the show. It comes down to the story, production, design, and talent that its cast brings to the table. Though we should mention the show really isn't so great. There's no doubt the series is getting review bombed. That means the ratings it's gotten on websites like Rotten Tomatoes or IMDb might not be too accurate. But even after Amazon added moderation to their streaming platform in an effort to counter review bombing, the series still doesn't have the most glowing reviews. While they're a bit more positive on Prime Video, the overall score still isn't anything close to what Amazon must have expected to get after the amount of money they've spent on this show. So we can't help but wonder just what is the main reason behind the show's rather lukewarm quality. Amazon has invested a ton of money on this series, with nearly $1 billion spent on just the first season alone. And to Amazon's credit, the series does look the part. The visuals are spectacular, with great costume design and sets. The visual effects are also great, with the fantastical elements of the series blending quite well with the realistic ones. But all of that still isn't enough to save it from its lackluster story. The show's storyline has been quite slow, with the first couple of episodes progressing at a snail's pace. For most viewers, especially those who may not be familiar with the original trilogy, the premiere felt like a history lesson. It's clear the writers struggled with introducing the audience to the massive world of Middle-earth, and unlike House of the Dragon, which seemingly was able to mix in the lore and the story elements well, Rings of Power hasn't been able to achieve something similar. So if there's a reason why Tolkien may be turning in his grave, this is it. In other news, HBO's House of the Dragon sees an increase in viewership. While the Rings of Power Power might be having a hard time getting audiences interested, its biggest competitor, House of the Dragon, is seemingly doing better and better each week. Episode 4 of the series managed to leave audiences shocked, and that seems to have resulted in an increase in viewership. Apparently, the episode had a 5% increase in viewership in the US compared to episode 3, though we've got to say we aren't surprised. Just considering the kind of things we had to see during the episode, we're not blown away. Many wanted to witness it for themselves. The episode showed us a rather disturbing sex scene between Princess Rhaenyra and Prince Daemon. Yes, their family. Yes, it's weird. Fans weren't exactly sure what to make of this odd scene, with many hoping to scrub their mind of the image as soon as the episode ended. Either way, it's clear the controversy surrounding it has contributed to an increase in viewership. We wonder why so many people tuned in to see a sex scene between a young princess and her uncle, and to be honest, we don't really want to know. Plus, Elijah Wood and the cast of the original Lord of the Rings trilogy shut down online trolls. The Rings of Power is the latest series to be subject of a racist backlash from online trolls, and to voice support for the actors of color who worked on the series and have faced constant harassment since its release, Elijah Wood, along with Dominic Monaghan and Billy Boyd, posted an image on social media. In the image, the original hobbits can be seen sporting a shirt that says "You're all welcome here" in Elvish. Alongside the message, there were several Elvish ears of different skin tones to truly cement the idea that Middle-earth didn't belong to any one color. Finally, fans think Rings of Power may have misrepresented the character. In the Silmarillion, Celebrimbor is described as a tragic character who's unfortunately tricked into creating the evil rings by Sauron in disguise. While his backstory in the books is quite well known, fans think Amazon's live-action adaptation might have misrepresented a few elements about the character. The key differences relate to his motivations. In the series, he's shown to be a jealous character who desires power. The versions we're seeing in the show displays much more anger and hubris, which is quite unlike the Silmarillion. In the books, he ends up being an innocent pawn in Sauron's plan to unveil evil onto the world. In Amazon's version, though, he seems to have an element of greed and arrogance in his character. It'll be interesting to see how Celebrimbor will be further differentiated moving forward, but it's clear not all fans are responding well to the changes. Some think the original character was quite tragic and helped to showcase Sauron's cunning trickery, but we're not sure anyone will feel too bad if this arrogant Celebrimbor ends up getting duped by the villain. That's a wrap for this video. What did you think about Elon Musk's controversial opinion on the Rings of Power? Let us know in the comments below, and make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. See you in the next one.